Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then, let's evaluate together. The rain was coming down hard that night, drumming on the tin roof of my little gallery like it was trying to break in. I stood behind the counter, wiping down a chipped mug with a rag that had seen better days. The kind of night where you figure nobody's crazy enough to come out. Detroit in November isn't exactly a tourist trap. Gray skies, potholed streets, an air that smells like wet asphalt and regret. But there I was, Jazmine Carter, 28, broke as hell, with paint under my nails and a dream that kept slipping through my fingers, like the water running down the cracked window panes. The gallery wasn't much to look at. A shoebox of a place wedged between a bodega that sold stale chips and a barbershop blasting trap music all day. Inside, it was all exposed brick and flickering fluorescent lights, the kind that buzz like a dying fly. My paintings hung on the walls, big, messy bursts of color that screamed everything I couldn't say out loud. Longing, anger, hope, all smeared onto canvas with cheap acrylics I'd scored on clearance. A card table in the corner held a spread of plastic cups and a $5 bottle of red wine that tasted like regret with a side of grape juice. Tonight was supposed to be a small exhibition, just me and a handful of local artists trying to pretend we were somebody. Spoiler, nobody showed up. Well, almost nobody. The bell above the door jingled, and I looked up, half expecting it to be Trey, my best friend, dragging his sorry ass in late with some excuse about his bus breaking down. But it wasn't Trey. It was him. He stepped in, shaking rain off a dark wool coat that looked too nice for this part of town. Tall, broad-shouldered, with hair the color of wet sand plastered to his forehead. His eyes, God, those eyes, caught the light like a pair of emeralds, sharp and curious, cutting through the dimness of the room. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there dripping onto my scuffed hardwood floor, taking it all in. "You open?" His voice was low, smooth, like he was used to being heard without trying too hard. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms over my oversized sweater, gray, frayed at the cuffs with a streak of blue paint I hadn't noticed till now. "Yeah, if you call this open. You here for the art or just dodging the rain?" He cracked a half smile, one of those lopsided ones that made my stomach do a little flip I wasn't ready to admit. Little of both, maybe. He stepped closer, coat brushing the floor, and stopped in front of my favorite piece, a canvas I'd poured my soul into last summer, all deep reds and swirling blacks, like a storm chasing itself. He tilted his head, studying it like it was a puzzle he needed to solve. "This yours?" "Yep." I pushed off the counter, walking over to stand beside him, hands shoved in my pockets to keep from fidgeting. Me and a whole lot of coffee. Took me 3 weeks and a couple all-nighters. "You an artist too? Or just lost on your way to the bar?" He chuckled, a sound that rolled out easy and warm, cutting through the chill in the air. "Neither. I just like stuff that hits me right here." He tapped his chest with 2 fingers, right over his heart, and damn if that didn't make mine skip a beat. "What's it called?" "Chasing Shadows." I shrugged, feeling a little exposed with him staring at it like that. "It's about, I don't know, trying to hold on to something you can't quite catch." He nodded slow, like he got it, really got it, not just nodding to be polite. "It's good, real good. Makes me feel like I'm right there in it." I didn't know what to say to that. Most folks who came in here, when they bothered to show up, glanced at my stuff, mumbled something about nice colors, and moved on. But this guy? He stood there, fully locked in, like he was having a private conversation with the paint itself. I caught a whiff of him then. Rainwater and something crisp, like cedar or fancy cologne, way out of place in my world of dollar store candles and stale coffee. "I'm Jazmine, by the way," I said, sticking out my hand before I could overthink it. My nails were chipped, a mess of black polish and paint stains, but he didn't seem to care. "Ethan." His hand wrapped around mine, warm and firm, and I swear I felt a jolt, like static electricity but deeper, buzzing under my skin. He held on a second longer than he needed to, those green eyes flicking up to meet mine, and I had to look away before I did something stupid like blush. We got to talking after that. Easy stuff at first, how he'd stumbled in 'cause he saw the lights on, how I'd been running this place on fumes and stubbornness for 2 years. He asked about the paintings, not the usual how much or you sell a lot crap, but real questions. What inspired me, how I picked the colors, why I kept going when it was obvious I wasn't raking in cash. I told him about growing up in Detroit, about my grandma's Sunday dinners with collard greens and cornbread, about how art was the only thing that kept me sane when the bills piled up and the world felt too damn heavy. He listened, really listened, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, that half smile never quite fading. Somewhere along the way, I grabbed 2 of those plastic cups and poured us some of that awful wine. We clinked them together, laughing when mine sloshed over the edge and dripped onto my sneakers. "To shitty wine and good art," he said, raising his cup. "To not drowning in the rain," I shot back, and we drank. It tasted like battery acid, but with him standing there it didn't matter. The night stretched on, the rain slowing to a soft patter outside. The handful of art students who'd shown up earlier trickled out, leaving us alone with the hum of the lights and the faint thump of bass from the barber shop next door. I started cleaning up, stacking cups, folding the card table, mostly to keep my hands busy, 'cause the way Ethan kept looking at me was making it hard to think straight. He didn't leave, though, just hung around, picking up a stray napkin here, a cup there, like he belonged. "You don't have to stick around for this," I said, shoving a trash bag under the counter. "I'm good." "I'm not in a rush." He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the faint stubble on his jaw, the way his shirt clung to his shoulders where the rain hadn't quite dried. "Besides, I like the company." My throat went dry and I fumbled with the bag, nearly dropping it. "Yeah, well, I'm a riot till you get me talking about my landlord. Then it's all downhill." He laughed again, louder this time, and damn if it didn't feel like a win. I turned to grab the broom, but when I spun back around, he was right there. Too close. Not close enough. Leaning against the counter with that look in his eyes, the kind that says trouble in the best way. "Jazmine," he said, voice dropping low. "You're something else. You know that." I opened my mouth to say something smart, something to keep the vibe light, but the words didn't come. He reached out slow, like he was giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His hand landed on my waist, fingers brushing the hem of my sweater, and my breath hitched. The room shrank down to just us, the buzz of the lights, the drip of rain outside, the heat of his touch burning through the fabric. "Ethan," I started, but then his other hand was on my cheek, tilting my face up, and his lips crashed into mine. It wasn't soft or sweet or any of that movie bullshit. It was hungry, messy, like we'd both been waiting for it all night and didn't know till right then. My hands found his chest, gripping his shirt, and I kissed him back just as hard. Paint from my fingers smeared onto the white cotton, blue streaks I'd laugh about later. But he didn't care. He pulled me closer, his body pressing against mine, solid and warm and real. I tasted rain on his lips, mixed with that awful wine, and it was perfect. The counter dug into my back, cups clattered to the floor, and I didn't give a damn. All I could feel was him, his hands sliding up my sides, his breath ragged against my mouth, the way he groaned my name like it was a prayer. We broke apart eventually, gasping, foreheads pressed together. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. His thumb brushed my lip, and he grinned, that lopsided smile again, but softer now. Been wanting to do that since I walked in, he said, voice rough. I laughed, shaky, still catching my breath. Took you long enough. He stepped back, running a hand through his hair, and I saw the paint on his shirt. Little streaks of me left behind. Guess I owe you a new one, I said, pointing. Worth it, he shot back, and I swear my knees went weak. That's when I knew I was in deep. Me, Jazmine Carter, Detroit girl with a busted bank account and a dream too big for my own good, had just locked lips with a stranger who walked into my life like he owned it. I didn't know then that he was Ethan Blackwell, heir to a billion-dollar empire, a guy who could buy my whole damn block without blinking. All I knew was that kiss, that night, flipped my world upside down, and I wasn't ready for where it'd take me. So yeah, that's where it starts. A rainy night, a tiny gallery, and a kiss that hit me like a freight train. Stick around, 'cause this ride's about to get wild. If you've ever fallen for someone you shouldn't, hit that subscribe button and drop your story in the comments. I'm dying to hear it. Let's see where this goes together. So there I was, Jazmine Carter, still buzzing from that kiss in my rundown Detroit gallery, when Ethan dropped a bomb on me a week later. We'd been texting nonstop since that night. Little stuff at first, like him asking about my favorite paint colors, black and red, obviously, and me teasing him about owing me a new shirt after I'd smeared paint all over his. Then came the late-night calls, his voice all gravelly through my busted phone speaker, talking about art and life, till I fell asleep with the phone on my chest. I didn't know what we were doing exactly, just that it felt good. Like a spark I hadn't felt in forever. Then, out of nowhere, he hit me with it. Come to Palm Springs with me, he said over the phone, casual as hell, like he was asking me to grab coffee down the block. I'm throwing this art thing next weekend. Big gallery, fancy people. I want you there. Your stuff deserves to be seen. I laughed at first, 'cause Palm Springs? That's where rich folks go to sip martinis and pretend the desert's their backyard. Not a place for a girl like me, scraping by on ramen and hope. Man, I can't afford a bus ticket to the suburbs, let alone California, I told him, pacing my tiny apartment. The place was a mess. Canvas propped against the wall, empty coffee mugs on every surface, a view of brick and fire escapes out the window. Don't worry about it, he said, and I could hear that damn half-smile in his voice. I'll take care of everything. Just pack a bag. Next thing I know, I'm standing on a private airstrip outside Detroit, staring at a sleek little jet that looks like it rolled out of some billionaire's daydream. Ethan's leaning against it, hands in his pockets, wearing sunglasses and a grin that says he knows exactly how wild this is for me. I'm in my beat-up Converse and a thrift store denim jacket, clutching a duffel bag I've had since high school, feeling like I accidentally walked onto a movie set. You're kidding me, I said, dropping my bag on the tarmac. This is yours? Borrowed it, he shrugged, like borrowing a private plane was no big deal. Come on, Jazz. Let's get out of the cold. The flight was unreal. Leather seats softer than my couch, a flight attendant pouring me orange juice in a real glass, Ethan sitting across from me with his legs stretched out, telling me about this gallery he'd been funding in Palm Springs. I kept waiting for the catch, but all I got was him looking at me like I was the most interesting thing on that plane, not the view of the clouds outside. We landed in Palm Springs a few hours later, the sun blasting down like it was showing off. A black SUV picked us up, and I stuck my head out the window like a damn tourist, soaking in the palm trees and the way the air smelled clean, expensive. Nothing like Detroit's mix of exhaust and rust. The Blackwell estate came into view after a twisty drive up a hill. A sprawling white mansion that looked like it belonged in a magazine, all sharp angles and glass, with a pool that stretched out forever into the desert horizon. Cactuses and bougainvillea lined the driveway, popping red and purple against the sand-colored stone. Holy shit, I muttered, stepping out of the car. My sneakers squeaked on the polished gravel, and I felt about as out of place as a stray dog at a cat show. Ethan grabbed my bag before I could, slinging it over his shoulder. "You'll get used to it," he said, nodding toward the house. "Come on, I'll show you around." Inside was even worse. Marble floors that echoed every step, a chandelier the size of my car dangling overhead, and art everywhere. Real stuff, not the clearance rack prints I hung in my apartment. He led me through a living room with a fireplace I could stand in, past a kitchen that gleamed like a spaceship, and up a staircase wide enough for a parade. My room, yeah, my own damn room, had a bed piled with pillows, a balcony overlooking the pool, and a bathroom with a tub I could drown in. I dropped onto the mattress, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles, trying to wrap my head around it all. "You good?" Ethan poked his head in, leaning against the doorframe. I sat up, kicking off my shoes. "Man, I'm waiting for someone to kick me out and say they got the wrong girl." He laughed, stepping inside. "Nah, you're right where you're supposed to be." That night was the gallery event, and I was a nervous wreck. Ethan had told me to dress up a little, but my wardrobe was thrift store chic at best. Trey, bless him, had FaceTimed me from Detroit, holding up a pair of heels he'd snagged from his sister's closet. "Girl, you gotta borrow these," he'd said, waving them at the camera. "You're walking into the lion's den. Look the part." So there I was, wobbling in those borrowed pumps. A black dress I'd found on sale last year hugging my curves. Hair pulled into a messy bun, 'cause I didn't have time to tame it. Ethan knocked on my door at sunset, looking like he'd stepped out of a GQ spread. Dark blazer, white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, that half smile doing things to me I wasn't ready to admit. "Damn, Jazz," he said, eyes running over me slow. "You're gonna steal the show." "Shut up," I mumbled, but I couldn't hide the grin creeping up. "Let's just get this over with." The gallery was downtown, a sleek building with glass walls and a crowd that screamed money. Suits and sequins, champagne flutes clinking, voices loud with that fake-ass laugh rich people do. My paintings were up on the walls, 3 of them, looking bolder and brighter under the fancy lighting than they ever did in Detroit. Ethan stuck close, introducing me to folks with names I'd never remember. Gallery owners, collectors, some dude who said he summered in the Hamptons, whatever the hell that meant. I nodded, smiled, sipped my drink, and prayed I wouldn't trip in Trey's damn heels. Then came the pool party after. Ethan's idea. Something chill, he'd said, but chill for him meant a rooftop deck with a DJ spinning low beats, string lights twinkling over a pool that glowed blue in the dark. I ditched the heels by then, barefoot on the warm tiles, watching people splash around like this was normal Friday night shit. Ethan came up beside me, 2 beers in hand, offering me one. "Having fun yet?" he asked, popping the cap off his. "It's a lot," I admitted, taking a swig. The cold fizz hit my throat, grounding me a little. "Your world's nuts, man. Want to make it crazier?" He grinned, peeling off his blazer and tossing it on a chair. Before I could blink, he was unbuttoning his shirt, revealing a chest that had clearly seen a gym or two. Tan, toned, with a faint scar running down his side I wanted to ask about, but didn't. He kicked off his shoes and dove into the pool, surfacing with wet hair and that grin still plastered on his face. "Come on, Jazz. Water's perfect." I laughed, shaking my head. "You're out of your mind." "Maybe. But you're not scared, are you?" He splashed at me, droplets hitting my dress, and that was it. I was done. I set my beer down, hiked up the hem, and jumped in after him. The water was warm, wrapping around me like a hug, and I came up gasping, hair plastered to my face. Ethan swam over, close enough that I could feel the heat off him even in the pool. "See? Told you," he said, voice low, water dripping off his lashes. We messed around after that, splashing, dunking each other, laughing like kids till my sides hurt. At some point, he grabbed my waist, pulling me against him, and the air shifted. His hands were firm, slick with water, sliding up my back under the surface. My breath caught, and I looped my arms around his neck, our faces inches apart. The party faded out. The music, the chatter, all of it. Just him and me, floating there under the desert sky. "You're trouble, Ethan," I whispered, half teasing, half serious. "Only the good kind," he shot back, and then he kissed me. Not like that night in Detroit. This was slower, deeper, his lips tasting of beer and chlorine, his body pressing into mine like he couldn't get close enough. I melted into it, fingers tangling in his wet hair, the water lapping around us like it was cheering us on. We pulled back eventually, breathing hard, and he rested his forehead against mine. "I could get used to this," he said, voice rough. "Yeah, well, don't," I joked, splashing him lightly. "I'm not moving to Cali for your ass." He laughed, but there was something in his eyes, something heavier, like he wanted to say more. That's when he dropped the real bomb. "Jazz, there's something you should know," he said, treading water, his hands still on my hips. "I'm not just some guy who likes art. I'm Ethan Blackwell." I blinked, water dripping into my eyes. "Okay, and that's supposed to mean what?" "Blackwell, as in Blackwell Holdings. My family owns half the real estate on the West Coast. Forbes list kinda deal." My stomach dropped, and not in a good way. I pushed back, floating a foot away, trying to process. "Wait, what? You're that Blackwell? Like billionaire Blackwell?" "Yeah," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, looking almost sheepish. "Didn't want to freak you out back in Detroit. I like being normal with you." "Normal." "Right." I stared at him. This guy I'd been kissing in a pool, who'd walked into my gallery like any other dude off the street. And now he was telling me he was American royalty or some shit. My head spun, partly from the beer, partly from the fact that I'd just jumped into a billionaire's pool without a damn clue. "Jesus, Ethan," I finally said, swimming to the edge and hauling myself out. Water streamed off me, pooling on the tiles. "You could have led with that." He climbed out after me, grabbing a towel and tossing me one. "Would you have kissed me if I did?" I smirked, wrapping the towel around my shoulders. "Maybe, but I'd have made you work harder for it." He laughed, stepping closer, his bare chest still glistening. "Fair enough. But I mean it, Jazz. I'm here 'cause of you, not the money or the name. This whole thing." He waved a hand at the party, the mansion, the life I couldn't even dream of. "It's bullshit without something real. You're real." I didn't know what to say to that. Me, real? I was a mess, broke, stubborn, barely keeping my head above water. But the way he looked at me, all serious under that easy grin, made me want to believe it, made me want to jump back in that pool and drag him down with me. That's when I realized I was screwed, not just 'cause I was falling for him, but 'cause I was falling into a world I didn't belong in. Ethan Blackwell wasn't just trouble. He was a damn hurricane, and I was about to get swept up in it. Palm Springs was starting to feel like a fever dream. Sun so bright it hurt, air so dry it sucked the life out of my curls, and Ethan Blackwell turning my world upside down with every damn smile. After that night in the pool, things got real fast. We weren't just flirting anymore. We were tangled up in something I couldn't name. Texts at 3 a.m., him showing up at my guest room door with coffee and that lopsided grin, me sneaking glances at him when he wasn't looking. I kept telling myself to slow down, that billionaires don't fall for girls like me, but my heart wasn't listening. Neither was my body, if I'm honest. Those hands on my hips in the water kept replaying in my head like a song I couldn't shake. The morning after the gallery event, Ethan dragged me to the Blackwell Estates dining room for what he called Brunch with the fam. I'd pictured something chill, pancakes, maybe some OJ, a couple laughs. Nope. This was a full-on ambush. The room was straight out of a design catalog. Long walnut table polished to a mirror shine, a chandelier dripping crystals overhead, and a spread that could have fed my whole block back in Detroit. Croissants, smoked salmon, little fruit tarts I didn't even know how to eat without looking like a fool. I sat there in my borrowed dress from last night, hair still a mess from the pool, feeling like a smudge on their perfect picture. Then they walked in. Eleanor Blackwell, Ethan's mom, swept through the double doors like she owned the damn world, which, I guess, she kinda did. She was tall, all sharp cheekbones and silver hair pulled into a bun so tight it looked painful, wearing a cream pantsuit that screamed money. Her eyes landed on me, cold and gray, slicing through me like I was a bug she wanted to squash. Behind her came Caleb, Ethan's older brother, strutting in like he was God's gift to humanity. Dark suit, slicked back hair, a smirk that made my skin crawl. He was broader than Ethan, built like he lived in the gym, with a vibe that said he'd sell his own grandma for $1. "Jazmine, right?" Eleanor said, her voice crisp as she slid into the head chair. She didn't smile, just folded her hands on the table, nails manicured to perfection. "Ethan's told us surprisingly little about you." I swallowed, gripping my napkin under the table. "Yeah, that's me. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Blackwell." "Eleanor," she corrected like it was a test. "So you're an artist?" "Yep, from Detroit." I tried to sound confident, but her stare was drilling holes in me. "Run a little gallery there. Paint when I can." "Charming," she said, the word dripping with something that wasn't charm at all. She picked up a teacup, pinky out, and took a sip like she was dismissing me without even trying. Caleb slid into the seat across from me, leaning back with that smirk still plastered on. "Detroit, huh? Rough place. Bet you're glad to be out here with the big dogs now." Ethan, sitting next to me, tensed up. "Lay off, Caleb," he said, voice low but firm. "Just making conversation, little bro." Caleb's eyes flicked to me, lingering too long, and I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the AC blasting through the room. Brunch went downhill from there. Eleanor asked questions that weren't questions, more like traps. "Your family's been in Detroit long?" Code for, "Where'd you come from, and why should I care?" "Your gallery's doing well, I assume?" Translation, "Prove you're not a gold digger." I answered as best I could, keeping my cool even as her tone got sharper, her smile faker. Ethan squeezed my knee under the table, a silent, "I got you," but it didn't stop the room from closing in. After, Ethan had to run off to some meeting about the art project, leaving me alone in the mansion. I was wandering the halls, marble floors cold under my bare feet, walls lined with paintings that probably cost more than my life. When Caleb found me, he stepped out of a side room, glass of bourbon in hand, that smirk back like it had never left. "Lost, Detroit," he said, leaning against the wall, blocking my path. "Just stretching my legs," I shot back, crossing my arms. "You stalking me now?" He laughed, a low, oily sound, and took a step closer. Too close. I could smell the liquor on his breath, mixed with some overpriced cologne that made my nose itch. "Relax, Jazmine. I'm just being friendly. Ethan's too soft for this game. You need someone who knows how to play." "Step off, Caleb," I said, voice steady, even though my pulse was racing. "I'm not here for your bullshit." He didn't back off. Instead, he set his glass down on a side table and closed the gap, his hand brushing my arm. "Come on. Don't be like that. I could show you a good time. Better than my brother ever could." His fingers slid up to my shoulder, and before I could think, he leaned in, lips aiming for mine. I shoved him, hard, right into the wall. He stumbled, bourbon splashing onto the floor, and I wiped my arm like I could erase his touch. Touch me again and you'll be picking your teeth up off this fancy-ass rug, I snapped, heart hammering. He straightened up, brushing his jacket like nothing happened, but his eyes were dark, pissed. You'll regret that, he said, voice low, then turned and walked off, leaving me shaking in the hallway. I didn't tell Ethan right away. Didn't want to start a war when I was already on thin ice. But that night, shit hit the fan anyway. We were at some swanky dinner party, another Blackwell event, all champagne and small talk, when Trey called me from Detroit. I dragged him along to Palm Springs because I needed backup, and he'd been crashing in the guest house, soaking up the sun and flirting with the pool boys. I stepped outside onto a balcony, the desert air cool against my skin, and answered. Jazz, you're fucked, he said, no preamble, voice tight. Check your phone. Some tabloids got pics of us from last year, that art crawl downtown. They're saying we're a thing. What? I pulled the phone away, opened X, and there it was, screaming headlines. Ethan Blackwell's mystery girl cheating with Detroit artist? The pics were grainy but real. Me and Trey laughing outside a bar, arms around each other, totally platonic but twisted to look like something else. My stomach dropped. Trey, this is bullshit. Who? Renee, he cut in. Your cousin's been running her mouth. Sold the story for a quick buck, I bet. She's pissed you're living large out there. Renee, my own damn family. We'd grown up tight, shared dreams over cheap wine in my apartment, plotting how we'd make it out of Detroit. But she'd always had that edge, that jealousy when I started getting a little shine. Now she'd stabbed me in the back, and the knife was twisting. I hung up, hands shaking, and went back inside. The party was in full swing. Soft jazz, clinking glasses, rich folks in designer threads. But all I could see was Ethan across the room, talking to some guy in a tux. He looked up, caught my eye, and smiled. I forced one back, but my chest was tight, like I couldn't breathe right. Caleb was there too, lurking by the bar, watching me with that snake grin. He raised his glass when our eyes met, a silent toast, and I knew he was behind this somehow. Maybe not Renee directly, but he'd sniffed out the dirt and made sure it hit the fan. I wanted to march over and deck him, but then Ethan was at my side, hand on my elbow. You okay? He asked, brow furrowing. You look like you saw a ghost. Yeah, just hot in here, I lied, fanning myself. Needed some air. He didn't buy it. I could tell, but he didn't push. Come on, let's get out of the crowd. Get. He led me to a quiet corner, a little nook with velvet chairs and a view of the desert night through floor-to-ceiling windows. We sat, his arm brushing mine, and for a second, I almost forgot the mess blowing up my phone. Jazz, he said, voice soft. I know this is a lot. My family, all this. But I'm glad you're here. Really. I looked at him, those green eyes steady on mine, and my throat tightened. Ethan, Before I could finish, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his face changed, jaw tightening, eyes narrowing. He turned it to me, and there it was, the same damn article now pinging his inbox. What the hell is this? He asked, not mad exactly, but sharp, like he was trying to figure it out. It's nothing, I said, too fast. Trey's my best friend. Has been forever. That's old pics, twisted up to look bad. I swear, Ethan, it's not. You sure? His tone wasn't accusing, but there was doubt there, a crack in the trust we'd been building. 'Cause it looks like bullshit, I snapped, louder than I meant. Heads turned our way, and I lowered my voice. Someone's screwing with me. With us. He stared at me, searching my face, then nodded slow. Okay. I believe you. But the words felt hollow, like he was saying them to convince himself. He put the phone away, but the air between us shifted. Cooler, heavier. That night, back in my room, I couldn't sleep. The bed was too big, the silence too loud. Caleb's slimy hands, Renee's betrayal, Ethan's doubt. They swirled in my head like a storm I couldn't paint my way out of. I'd come to Palm Springs chasing a spark, but now it felt like I'd lit a fuse instead. The Blackwell family wasn't just a hurdle, they were a damn wall, and I was starting to wonder if I could climb it. Worse, I wondered if Ethan would even help me over, or if he'd leave me hanging when the heat got too real. I couldn't stay in Palm Springs after that dinner party, not with Caleb's smirk haunting me, not with Renee's betrayal burning a hole in my gut, and definitely not with Ethan looking at me like he wasn't sure who I was anymore. The air in that mansion felt like it was choking me, all polished marble and fake smiles, so I did what I always do when shit hits the fan. I ran, not far, just back to Detroit, back to the one place that made sense. I told Ethan I needed space to think, which wasn't a lie, but it also wasn't the whole truth. Truth was, I was scared. Scared of losing him, scared of what his world was turning me into, scared I'd already lost myself somewhere between that kiss in my gallery and the headlines tearing me apart. The flight back was a blur, coach this time, no private jet, just me crammed between a snoring guy and a kid kicking my seat. I landed in Detroit at dawn, the sky a bruised purple over the city's jagged skyline. My apartment hit me like a punch. Same old brick view out the window, same creaky floorboards, same coffee stains on the counter. But it was mine, and right then, that's all I needed. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and stood there in the quiet, letting the familiar hum of the radiator wash over me. Home. Messy, broke-ass home. For 2 days I didn't touch my phone. Didn't paint either. Just sat on my lumpy couch with a bowl of cereal, staring at the wall like it'd tell me what to do. Trey came by, banging on the door till I let him in, his loud-ass laugh filling the room before he even said hi. He was still pissed about the tabloid mess, pissed at Renee, pissed at Caleb, pissed at the world, but he didn't push me to talk. Just plopped down next to me, stole half my Frosted Flakes, and turned on some trashy reality show we could yell at together. "Girl, you look like shit," he said eventually, nudging me with his elbow. "You gonna call that rich boy or what?" I shrugged, digging my spoon into the bowl. "He's probably done with me." Saw the doubt in his eyes, Trey. "Ain't no coming back from that. He's a dumbass if he lets you go over some fake news." He shot back, voice sharp. "But you gotta figure out what you want, Jazz. This ain't just about him." He was right, and I hated it. What did I want? Ethan? Yeah, sure. Those green eyes, that laugh, the way he made me feel like I could take on anything. But his life? The Blackwells, the money, the bullshit? That was a different beast, and I wasn't sure I had the claws for it. That night, alone again, I finally cracked. Pulled out a canvas, biggest one I had, 6 feet wide, and set it up in the middle of my living room. Paint cans clattered as I dragged them out, brushes scattered across the floor, and I just let go. No plan, no sketch, just me and the colors. Black first, slashing across the white like a wound, then red, angry, alive, bleeding into the edges. I painted Ethan, his face half-shadowed, eyes piercing through the chaos, lips parted like he was about to say something I couldn't hear. I painted the pool, the desert sky, the gallery lights, all of it swirling together till my hands were shaking and my shirt was smeared with streaks of acrylic. It was ugly, beautiful, raw, everything I'd been holding in since that first kiss. I stepped back, panting, paint dripping off my fingers onto the floor, and stared at it. Him. Us. Whatever the hell we were. That's when the tears hit, hot, messy, rolling down my cheeks till I couldn't see straight. I sank to the floor, knees pulled up, and let it out. Not just about Ethan. About Renee selling me out. About Caleb's hands on me. About feeling like I didn't belong anywhere anymore. The knock came at midnight. Soft at first, then louder, insistent. I wiped my face on my sleeve, stumbling to the door, figuring it was Trey again with some late-night rant. But when I yanked it open, there he was. Ethan Blackwell, standing in my shitty hallway with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, hair mussed like he'd run his hands through it 100 times. He was in a plain hoodie and jeans, no billionaire vibes, just a guy who looked tired as hell. "Jazz," he said, voice rough, like he hadn't slept either. "Can I come in?" I didn't say anything, just stepped aside, letting him brush past me. He dropped his bag by the couch, turning to face me, and his eyes landed on the canvas. He froze, staring at himself painted in all my messy glory, and I felt naked in a way that had nothing to do with clothes. "Jesus," he muttered, stepping closer to it. "This is me losing my damn mind," I finished, crossing my arms. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" He turned, green eyes locking on mine, and there was no doubt there now. Just something raw, desperate. "I fucked up, Jazz. That night, I saw that article and I let it get in my head. I should have trusted you. I'm sorry." I wanted to stay mad, to yell, to throw something at him for making me feel like trash, but my voice came out small instead. "You think I'm here to play you? That I'd do that to you?" "No," he said fast, stepping toward me. "No, I know you wouldn't. I was an idiot, okay? My family, they've got me so twisted up I forgot what's real." "You're real." I laughed, bitter, wiping at my eyes again. "Real? I'm a mess, Ethan. Look at me. Paint everywhere, crying on my damn floor. I'm not cut out for your fancy-ass world." "Then we'll make our own," he said, closing the gap till he was right in front of me. His hands hovered, like he wasn't sure he could touch me yet. "I don't care about Palm Springs, the money, any of it. I care about you." My chest ached, torn between wanting to shove him out and wanting to pull him closer. "You don't get it," I said, voice cracking. "Your brother tried to kiss me, Ethan. Your mom looks at me like I'm dirt. My own cousin sold me out. I don't fit with you." His jaw tightened, eyes flashing. "Caleb did what?" "Cornered me in the hall," I said, looking away. "Told me you're too soft, that I need him instead. I pushed him off, but he's not done screwing with us. I can feel it." Ethan's hands clenched into fists, then unclenched, and he reached for me, slow, like he was afraid I'd bolt. "I'll handle Caleb," he said, voice low, dangerous. "He's not touching you again. And my mom, she'll come around, or she won't. I don't give a damn. I'm not losing you over them." His fingers brushed my arms, warm against my skin, and I didn't pull away. I couldn't. "You sure about that?" I whispered. "'Cause I'm not easy, Ethan. I'm loud, I'm stubborn, I'm perfect," he cut in, hands sliding up to cup my face. "You're perfect, Jazmine Carter, and I'm a fucking fool for doubting you." Then he kissed me, and it wasn't like the gallery or the pool. This was different, deeper, like he was pouring everything into it. I tasted salt from my tears on his lips, felt the heat of his palms against my cheeks, and I broke. My hands fisted in his hoodie, pulling him closer, and we stumbled back till we hit the floor, right there in front of that damn canvas. Paint cans clattered around us, a brush rolling under the couch. But I didn't care. His mouth moved to my neck, hot and urgent, and I arched into him, fingers digging into his shoulders. "Jazz," he murmured against my skin, breath ragged. "Tell me to stop if you want." "Don't you dare!" I gasped. and that was it. Clothes came off. My paint-stained shirt, his hoodie, jeans and socks in a heap, till it was just us, skin to skin on that cold, hardwood floor. His hands were everywhere, tracing my hips, my back, leaving trails of heat I could still feel hours later. I pulled him down, legs wrapping around him, and we moved together, messy and desperate, the rain outside drumming a beat that matched our own. It wasn't pretty or polished. It was us, raw and real, paint smearing between us like a signature on everything we'd been through. After, we lay there, tangled up, my head on his chest, his heartbeat thumping under my ear. The canvas loomed over us, Ethan's painted eyes staring down like they approved. I traced the scar on his side, the one I'd seen in the pool, fingers lingering. "Got that falling off a bike when I was 10, he said, voice sleepy. "Thought I was invincible." "Still do," I teased, and he chuckled, arm tightening around me. We stayed like that till the rain stopped, just breathing each other in. But it wasn't over, not by a long shot. Morning came, and with it, a text from Trey. "Caleb's at it again. Video this time. Looks bad, Jazz." My phone lit up with a link. Grainy footage of me and Trey hugging outside my gallery last year, edited to look like we were kissing, hitting X like a damn wildfire. Ethan sat up, grabbing his phone when it buzzed with the same link. His face darkened, but this time, he didn't flinch. "We're done running," he said, voice hard. "We fight this together." I nodded, stomach twisting. But there was fire in me now, too. Caleb wanted a war? Fine. I'd paint my way through it, with Ethan by my side. We weren't just surviving this. We were rewriting it. Waking up on that hardwood floor with Ethan's arms slung over me felt like a dream I didn't want to leave. The paint-smudged canvas stared down at us, a messy testament to the night before. Our night, raw and real, like we'd finally stripped away all the bullshit between us. His breath was warm against my neck, steady and slow, and for a minute, I let myself believe we could stay there, tangled up in each other, safe from the storm outside my little Detroit apartment. But the world doesn't wait, and neither did Caleb Blackwell. My phone buzzed again, screen lighting up with Trey's text. "Videos everywhere, Jazz. They're calling you a player." I grabbed it, heart sinking as I clicked the link. The footage was worse than I'd thought. Me and Trey outside my gallery last year, hugging tight after a long night of painting, some asshole with a camera zooming in and editing it to look like we were locking lips. The audio was dubbed too, fake giggles, a cheesy "I love you" that never happened. It was already racking up thousands of views on X, comments piling up like garbage. "Gold digger, cheating trash. Ethan deserves better." My hands shook. Paint still caked under my nails, and I shoved the phone at Ethan. He sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and watched it in silence. His jaw clenched, a muscle ticking in his cheek, but he didn't say anything at first, just tossed the phone onto the couch and pulled me against him. "It's fake," he said, voice low, steady. "I know it's fake, Jazz. We're not letting this break us." "Yeah, well, the internet doesn't," I muttered, burying my face in his chest. His hoodie smelled like him, cedar and sweat, and I clung to it, trying to block out the noise. "Caleb's behind this. I can feel it in my bones." Ethan's hand tightened on my back. "He's a bastard, but he's not invincible. We'll figure it out." Except figuring it out got a whole lot harder real fast. We barely had time to shower, me scrubbing paint off my skin, him stealing kisses under the hot water, before his phone started blowing up. Texts from his assistant, calls from his mom, a voicemail from Caleb that Ethan deleted without listening. "Family meeting," he said, toweling off, his face grim. "They want me back in Palm Springs. Now." "You're not going alone," I said, pulling on a clean shirt, black ripped at the hem, my armor. "This is our fight." He looked at me, green eyes fierce, and nodded. Together, then. We flew back that afternoon, private jet again, 'cause apparently that's just how Blackwells roll when shit hits the fan. Palm Springs greeted us with its usual smug sunshine, but the vibe at the estate was ice cold. The meeting was in Eleanor's office, a sterile box of marble and glass, her desk big enough to land a plane on, shelves lined with leather books nobody read. She sat there like a queen on her throne, cream blazer crisp, gray eyes locked on us as we walked in. Caleb was slouched in a chair by the window, sipping bourbon like it was noon on a Tuesday, that snake smirk plastered on his face. A woman I didn't know stood by Eleanor's side, tall, sleek, all red lipstick and power suit, her dark hair pulled back tight. She eyed me like I was a stain she needed to bleach out. "Ethan," Eleanor started, voice cutting through the room, "this has gone far enough. Your little fling is dragging our name through the mud." "It's not a fling," he snapped, stepping forward, his hand brushing mine. "And it's not Jazmine's fault. Caleb's the one stirring shit." Caleb chuckled, swirling his drink. "Me? I'm just sitting here, little bro. You're the one parading your side piece around like she's royalty." "Watch your mouth," Ethan growled, fists clenching, and I grabbed his arm before he could lunge. Eleanor raised a hand, silencing them both. "Enough. The video's out there, true or not. The board's furious, the press is circling, and our investors are asking questions. I won't let this family implode over some Detroit painter." She turned those cold eyes on me, and I felt the weight of every dollar they owned pressing down. "Jazmine, I'm giving you a choice. Leave Ethan quietly, and I'll make sure you're compensated. Or stay, and I'll ruin you, your gallery, your reputation, everything." My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch. "I'm not scared of you, lady," I said, voice steady, even though my knees weren't. "I've got nothing to lose you haven't already taken." She didn't blink, just nodded to the woman beside her. "Vanessa, handle it." Vanessa Hart. Turns out she was Eleanor's fixer, a shark in heels who'd cleaned up Blackwell messes for years. She cornered me later that day, catching me alone by the pool while Ethan was off arguing with Caleb. The sun was dipping low, turning the water gold, and I was barefoot on the tiles, trying to breathe through the panic clawing at my chest. She sauntered over, all sleek confidence, a glass of wine in one hand, her heels clicking like a countdown. "Jazmine," she purred, voice smooth as silk. "You're in over your head, darling. You know that, right?" "Save it," I said, crossing my arms. "I'm not buying whatever you're selling." She smiled, thin and sharp, and stepped closer, too close, her perfume hitting me like a wave, floral and expensive. "Oh, I'm not selling. I'm offering." She set her glass down, fingers brushing my wrist, light but deliberate. "Ethan's sweet, but he's a boy playing a man's game. I could give you something bigger, power, security, a way out of this mess. Leave him, and I'll make you untouchable." I yanked my hand back, skin tingling where she'd touched me. "Lady, I don't swing that way, and I sure as hell don't sell out. Back off." Her smile didn't falter. "Pity. You'd look good in my world." She picked up her glass and walked away, leaving me rattled, the air thick with her threat. That night, it got worse. Ethan and I crashed in his room, big bed, glass walls overlooking the desert, a space that felt more like a cage now. We were barely speaking, just lying there, when X lit up again. New headlines. Jazmine Carter, the hustler who fooled a billionaire. More pics. Me at my gallery, me with Trey. Even one of me and Ethan in the pool, blurry but damning. The comments were a cesspool, racist digs, slut-shaming, calls for Ethan to dump the trash. I scrolled till my eyes burned, then threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a crack, and I curled up, knees to my chest, fighting tears. Ethan pulled me into him, arms tight, but his voice was shaky. "We'll fix this, Jazz. I swear." "How?" I snapped, pulling away. "Your mom's got an army, Caleb's got the dirt, and I'm just me. They're winning, Ethan." He didn't answer, just stared at the ceiling, and that silence cut deeper than anything. I got up, pacing, the room spinning. "Maybe she's right," I said, voice breaking. "Maybe I should go." "No," he said, sitting up fast. "Don't you dare. I need you here." "For what? To watch you lose everything?" I ran my hands through my hair, tugging at the roots. "I'm drowning, Ethan. I can't do this." He was off me, grabbing my shoulders, his grip firm, but not rough. "You're not drowning alone," he said, eyes locked on mine. "We're in this together, Jazz. I'm not letting them tear us apart." I wanted to believe him, but then Trey called, voice panicked. "Jazz, they found me. Some guys in a black SUV tailing me outside the gallery. I'm freaking out. What do I do?" My blood ran cold. "Get out of there," I said, gripping the phone. "Go to my grandma's. Lay low. I'll call you back." I hung up, turning to Ethan, chest heaving. "They're after Trey now. This isn't just about us anymore." Ethan's face hardened. "Caleb's gone too far. I'm ending this." He stormed out, heading for Eleanor's office, and I followed, heart pounding. We burst in, her and Caleb mid-conversation, Vanessa lurking by the desk. Ethan didn't waste time. "Call off your dogs, Caleb," he roared, slamming a fist on the desk. "You're threatening Trey now? You're done." Caleb laughed, leaning back. "Prove it, little bro." "Oh, wait. You can't." "Enough," Eleanor barked, standing. "Ethan, you're out. No more trust fund, no more stake in the company. You choose her, you lose it all." The room went dead quiet. Ethan stared at her, then at me, and I saw it, the crack, the moment he realized what this cost. "Fine," he said, voice flat. "I'm done with you too." He grabbed my hand, pulling me out, but the weight of it hit me like a truck. We were cut off, hunted, cornered. No money, no power, just us against a machine that didn't stop. Back in his room, I sank onto the bed, head in my hands. "I can't keep doing this," I whispered. "They've got us pinned." Ethan knelt in front of me, hands on my knees, but his eyes were wild, desperate. "We'll find a way, Jazz. We have to." I didn't answer. The walls were closing in. Eleanor's ultimatum, Caleb's games, Trey in danger, and I couldn't see a way out. Ethan pulled me into him, kissing me hard, like he could fix it with his lips, his hands gripping my waist till it hurt. I kissed him back, fierce and frantic, our breaths mingling in the dark, but it wasn't enough. We were on the edge, teetering, and I didn't know if we'd fall together or apart. I didn't sleep that night in Ethan's room, not with the world crashing down around us. The bed was too big, the desert outside too quiet, and my head was a mess. Eleanor's ultimatum ringing in my ears, Trey's panicked voice on loop, Caleb's smirk burned into my brain. Ethan was beside me, staring at the ceiling, his hand resting on mine like an anchor, but it wasn't enough to stop the sinking feeling in my gut. We were out of moves, cut off, exposed, with nowhere to run. I kept replaying Vanessa's offer, her slick voice promising power if I'd just ditch Ethan, and for one weak-ass second, I wondered if she was right. Maybe I was in over my head. Morning came too fast, the sun slicing through the glass walls like a knife. Ethan was up first, pacing in his boxers, phone in hand, texting someone furiously. "Trey's safe," he said, not looking up. "Got him to your grandma's place. Hired a guy to watch the house. Relief hit me, but it was short-lived. Good, but that doesn't fix us, I said, sitting up, my voice hoarse from crying. Your mom's got us by the throat, Ethan. Caleb's still out there, and I stopped, running my hands over my face. I'm tired, man. I don't know how much fight I've got left. He dropped the phone, kneeling in front of me, hands on my thighs. We're not done, Jazz. I'm not letting them win. His eyes were fierce, green and unyielding, but I could see the cracks. Exhaustion, fear, the weight of losing everything he'd known. Before I could argue, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I grabbed it, expecting more bad news, but it was a text from an unknown number. Meet me. Sunrise Cottage, 8 a.m. No press, no games. E. Eleanor. My stomach flipped. Your mom wants to see me, I said, showing him the screen. Alone. Ethan's jaw tightened. It's a trap. Don't go. Maybe, I said, standing, pulling on my jeans. But maybe it's a way out. I'm done running blind. I need to know what she's playing at. He grabbed my arm, gentle but firm. Then I'm coming with you. No, I said, shaking my head. She said alone. I've got this, Ethan. Trust me. He didn't like it. I could see it in the way his fists clenched, but he nodded, letting go. Call me if it goes south. I'll be there in a heartbeat. Sunrise Cottage was a half-hour drive from the estate, a little wooden stone hideaway tucked into the desert hills, far from the Blackwells' usual glitz. I pulled up in Ethan's borrowed Jeep, dust kicking up around the tires, and stepped out, squinting against the morning glare. Eleanor was waiting on the porch, no pantsuit this time, just a loose sweater and jeans, her silver hair down, softer than I'd ever seen her. She looked human, and that scared me more than her Ice Queen act. Jazmine, she said, voice neutral, gesturing to a wicker chair. Sit. Tea? I stayed standing, arms crossed. I'm good. What's this about? You gonna bribe me again? Threaten me? She sighed, pouring herself a cup from a pot on the table, steam curling up in the cool air. No, I'm here to talk. Just us. She sat, crossing her legs, and looked at me, not through me for once. I was wrong. I blinked, thrown. Come again? About you, she said, sipping her tea, eyes steady on mine. I thought you were a liability, a distraction. I've spent my life protecting this family, keeping it strong, but I forgot what strength really looks like. She set the cup down, hands folding in her lap. Ethan hasn't been this alive in years, not since his father died. That's because of you. My throat tightened, but I didn't budge. So what? You're cool with me now because I make him happy, after all the shit you pulled? No, she said blunt. I'm not cool with anything. I'm admitting I misjudged you. I loved someone once. Someone outside this world. A musician, poor as dirt, with a laugh that could light up a room. I let my family take him from me, and I've regretted it every day since. She paused, looking out at the desert, voice softening. I don't want that for Ethan. I didn't know what to say. Eleanor Blackwell, spilling her guts to me. It didn't compute. Why tell me this now? I asked, suspicious. Because I'm tired, she said, meeting my eyes again. Tired of fighting what's real. Caleb's out of control. Vanessa too. I didn't see it till now. I'm giving you the arts project. Full control, no strings. It's yours to run, however you want. I stared, waiting for the catch, but she just handed me a folder, legal papers, signed with my name on them. This doesn't fix everything, I said, voice low. Caleb's still coming for us. I know, she said, standing. That's why I called Ethan too. He's on his way. Right on cue, the Jeep's engine rumbled up the drive. Ethan stepped out, hair wild, eyes darting between us. "What's going on?" he demanded, striding over. "Your mother's bowing out," I said, holding up the folder. "Gave me the project. Says she's done fighting." He looked at Eleanor, wary. "This for real?" "Yes," she said, firm. "But Caleb's your mess now. Clean it up." We didn't waste time. Back at the estate, Ethan called a family meeting. Board members, cousins, the whole Blackwell circus crammed into the conference room. I stood by the door, folder clutched tight, watching Caleb swagger in like he owned the place. He didn't know what was coming. Ethan took the floor, voice steady. "Caleb's been playing us. Fake videos, threats, all of it. I've got proof." He nodded to me, and I stepped forward, heart pounding. Trey had sent it overnight, a grainy audio file, Caleb bragging to Vanessa about burying Ethan's little girlfriend with lies. I hit play, and Caleb's voice filled the room, smug and clear. "She's done. One more push, and he's ours." The room went dead silent. Caleb's smirk vanished, his face paling as every eye turned to him. "That's bullshit," he sputtered, standing. "Edited, fake. Sit down," Eleanor snapped, her tone cutting through his bluster. "You're out, Caleb. No shares, no seat. Done." He lunged for the phone, but Ethan stepped in, shoving him back. "You're lucky I don't break your damn jaw for what you did to Jazz," he growled, and Caleb froze. Outnumbered, outplayed. That was high point 3. The moment Caleb fell, the room erupting in murmurs, board members nodding like they'd known all along. I stood there, paint-stained girl from Detroit, watching a billionaire dynasty bend, and felt something shift. We'd won, not just survived, but won. The fallout was fast. Caleb stormed out, tail between his legs, and Eleanor handed Ethan back his steak, her way of saying truce. Vanessa slunk off, her threats empty now. Me? I took the arts project and ran with it. Back to Detroit, Ethan at my side, building something real. We turned my gallery into a hub. Classes for kids, murals on busted-up walls, a space where people like me could breathe art instead of choking on bills. A year later, we got hitched. Not some fancy Palm Springs bash, but a backyard party at my grandma's place. Soul music blasting, ribs on the grill, my family in bright colors mixing with Ethan's cousins, who'd loosened up enough to try the handshake my nephews taught him. I wore a dress with paint splattered on the hem, on purpose this time, and Ethan looked at me like I was the only thing in the world worth seeing. Grandma cried when she put her old beaded necklace around my neck, whispering, "You didn't change, baby. You grew big." Now I'm Jazmine Carter Blackwell, splitting time between Detroit grit and Palm Springs shine. The mansion's still there, but it's different. Open doors, kids running through with paintbrushes, staff who look like my old neighbors bringing fresh energy to those stale halls. Last month our daughter came, Lila Grace Blackwell, a tiny hurricane with my curls and Ethan's eyes, tying our worlds together tighter than any ring. I catch myself sometimes, staring in the mirror, braids and a borrowed tiara from Eleanor's stash, a gown with Detroit patterns stitched into the hem. It's not a fairy tale, not really. It's messier, louder, more me. I didn't transform into some princess. I grew into something bigger, something that fits. Ethan and I, we're not just surviving the odds, we're rewriting them, one brushstroke at a time. So that's it, y'all. My story, from paint stains to power plays. A Detroit girl who took on a dynasty and came out stronger. Love didn't just break barriers for us. It built bridges, ones Lila will run across without ever doubting where she belongs. If this hits you where it counts, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What's your wildest dream worth fighting for? Let's keep this journey going together.